Remember? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hey, here.
I was talking about the original like hand drawn flower that you took like a picture of and then you send it in the general chat for like more
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, it's like a little A4 drawing that I scanned and yeah.
yeah. It was cool. I liked it. It really sparked different ideas of like, having it visual like that.
Yeah, I really liked what you were doing with it. If you wanna like, I send you like the PhD if you wanna make it as animation or take it in parts or change it like. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will play with it and see what happens. And then like like that's like the thing I want to like introduce is like I kind of like toss it into group and then if you like see something, mess with it and toss it back. And yeah.
Yeah, it remind me. Did you see this documentary? What's it called? Rip This or something from this guy from this music artist Girl Talk. All about
Yeah,
like
Rip a
building.
manifesto? Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about. Do you know like grafting? It's like a technique that is used for plants. You know, like a
Yeah.
kind of
Uh-huh.
genetic design of they made
Yeah.
flowers and all these things. So that's some kind of things of thinking about it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that is like important looking for mathematical structures that like help promote natural growth.
Yeah, yeah, or how they kind of make
Cool.
fruits, or it's like this ancient practice in monasteries how they were like getting from poppies to roses, and it's kind of old school genetic design, kind of. It's
Yeah.
it just made me
True.
think of working with this flower and like yeah, it's a bit like in Git with all the branches and then this kind of modifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should definitely have a dedicated session on these. Actually, I would love to, you know, hear all of these connections that you're seeing from yeah, more like from an artistic point of view, right? And what's all the threads that you see connecting with your perspective. And also, please do share more also in the chat. I think we're ready for more cross, um, yeah, more real transdisciplinary art.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. I don't know if everyone had time to look into the agenda, but this time we had an addition. I don't know, Letty, was it you who proposed that we should, yeah.
Yes, if we can do that, like we can have Satori maybe read our manifesto. That was like our recollection of what was the mission of Omega and what we were doing here. So maybe it's a good time to kind of recap the essence of what the thing we are doing
Okay.
here. And I love you if you can read aloud what so sister wrote this down and it's in our Omnifesto. I cannot find it. So, Cesar, do you have it? And you can share screen maybe for Tori to read.
Yeah, so I'm still having problems with my Discord or the browser. Likely, I cannot share screen without the.
I actually have like this thought because kept on thinking about this is like Imaginarium when we get a good idea and it like hits, we just like go with it. You know, like it like nothing stops us, we just go with it. And I was trying to like the most simple way to like imagine it for me and I've been liking this. So think about like a balloon, right? And you just like bounce it up and down, bounce it up and down. That's cool, right? And then you lose your attention. But if you have someone else, and you know, when you're a little kid, you bounce it up and down. And at first, it's like, okay, I don't want to be the one that drops the ball. That like motivates you. And then you notice if you're in sync, you're passing it back and forth. And then it becomes like, oh, let's see how long we could do it together. And then if you get like a third person in it, a little bit more dynamic, and that becomes even more interesting. But it is even more hard. Like it's harder to have everybody getting in sync, and like that for me is an infinite game. Just what we did, we kind of like demonstrated, me and Steph. Where I like, hey, this I found that kind of cool and interesting. Just like saying to me, sparked to me. And I tossed it back to him, and then he played with it. I feel like everybody has their own balloon, and so this balloon is like your piece of the puzzle, and like almost everybody right now is just bouncing their own balloon.
Yeah.
We don't realize that we could all
Yeah.
like have this infinite game where we could toss these balloons that we like crafted out of our own souls. We could bounce them all back and forth. This should be like, I think I came to like this own like poetic sense of thinking about Omega.
Yeah, that's like the play of Omega, maybe. And we were this session that was last year. We were kind of a very meditative state. So we're playing, but we're playing with the consciousness of the group, which was emerging that way. And it was like maybe not passing through the balloon, but we were like very into our own creation here. So it was kind of a different play. And you were connected to that.
And I, I wanted to like demonstrate like this kind of like a fundamental underlining principle. And then we were doing that in the chat, and that's what emerged out of North Star concept. What is and so like that idea didn't emerge just for me, and it emerged from us playing that game of going back and forth with this balloon that we discovered in group.
I'd say we should apply this idea to itself.
Yeah,
I think that
I was thinking, yeah, that was my thing about the infinite game. Like, how can we apply that for like small little games for us to be like motivating each other in a very subtle way, in an intrinsic way. Like if it's totally up to you, and if it catches your attention, and like if we have like this like cultural realization that like that is fun, and that really helps spark that intrinsic motivation, that is like I think the most productive way, and I think it's like a goal for all of us to like maintain as a healthy way of going about our way of life.
I'd be totally game. At the same time, though, for example, I think so there are things that we just need to be doing. For example, setting up wallets and asking for grants and so on. And these are things that they're not simple. Or for me, it's really a lot of work. For others, it might be really come. Because it's structured, come really easy. But these things need to be done. So we have these type of things. And then we have, of course, what I think everyone agrees, what makes Omega an interesting place and a safe place to be is exactly that we want to hold this exploratory space. And in there, playing this ball passing, and we have mentioned it's this improvisation is happening, and we could also add it to our tool list if you want, and that we have those sessions as well where there is freestyle. So definitely game, but I feel right now also we need to find the balance. Because, well, why?
Okay.
Because we could get funds for the work that we're doing, and some of the participants are, could benefit from those funds. Many or some of us, are really here for intrinsic motivation and have the luxury, or somehow manage it to have multiple lives and manage their funds. So this is the challenge where I feel like I need to find balance, or also ask how we can get there.
Okay, so let's add a intention to our infinite game. The intention is to bring the chaotic balloon into an action plan.
Yeah, but for example, we have already 2 initiatives that have been started. So they need different action plans and they're very different. And we have definitely a lot more potential energy now, right? So we need, I believe for that, we should have even more freestyle or more this type of session to see what is in this new potential energy. So I'm super curious. And maybe we need to branch off or branch or have not just wait for this Wednesday session, but really start jam sessions, or I don't know how we want to call them, but definitely enable that. Yeah, that's
Maybe infinite game sessions. So like if we're noticing, like I kind of want to like, okay, so this is something. I understand what you're saying because I have like had a decentralized group, and even though that I was the leader, I didn't want to like label myself a leader. And the reason why I was the leader is because why things got done is because I did it. I did it. Like,
but that's not self-organization. That's that's picking up the slack.
What I'm saying, what I'm saying is that we both have to, because it becomes this thing, right? We could have rules or we could have roles, but we're trying to be what's intrinsic to us, but also to mindful of the whole. So there's like housekeeping that has to be done. There is little things that we have to do. So like, if it's a really good idea and we're good at like encapsulating it, then like I think I'm good at that. I'm good at getting like taglines and saying like weird stuff, and it doesn't bother me like if it doesn't make sense, and then I try to make sense of it. That's kind of like my process. And we're going about like our work style. We all kind of have a different work style, and we got to see how like they go in orbit. Because I think like some things are like a big dense idea has like a gravity to it, and there's like orbits, and like gotta find and sync when our orbits go together. Just be aware of that. I think it will emerge. But also too, when we find that, maybe we write notes to ourselves, and then we say, hey, I think this might be a good flow. Does this gel with your thoughts on it?
Yeah.
And then okay, maybe we present this as like a general principle of the group.
Yeah, it's tokenizing. Yeah, sure.
So I think it won't be general. That's my take, because we have very, very many different styles. And there is a huge, I believe there's like, I think also the most active people here will definitely continue gravitating towards that. But I also feel like, kind of jobs to be done, and people are able to, but they also need space to do that. For example, Mart, he's been participating in the Steward sessions, where there's how actually information being exchanged of how all the other working groups are moving, progressing, and so on. And we never had a chance to actually have him give that information, for example, right? Share that information with the group, and vice versa. So there are many things that if we put them into, this is how we do it, then maybe it will take the first 15 minutes and we can, spend the next 45 minutes, or if people want to lengthen these sessions because we realize, okay, we have this freestyle sessions where we want to go with the flow, to really see what's emerging. Again, like right now we have this, I feel it's huge potential and that needs its special place and everything, and it is part of the work style or working style discussions, definitely. So one thing we do, so I cannot share my screen, but if someone could share the agenda.
Yeah, I can share now.
Perfect. So, and these are things we can again change, improve. But for example, one option would be to just take the lead and shape the next Wednesday session, for example. Like if it's something, you say, hey, it's bubbling up. We need to get that. Everyone is welcome to put it on the agenda, bucket list maybe, but I don't think we have a high priority other than things that need to be done. So shaping the agenda and then just leading a Wednesday session is always a way to, let people, invite people to a play. But then, if you do it before and put it on the agenda, then people have the opportunity to prepare, right? So and now the simple rule would then be basically when we have something on the agenda, then we stick to that at the very, yeah. I feel like I'm the a Spielverderber in German, like the one that rains on the parade. But yeah, like that's the tension, right? That's the tension to or at the moment, how do we organize the different tasks that need different styles and also like different people gravitating around different topics. I don't know, I can't see your screen, Letty.
You can't see it? I'm sharing now.
No?
I have a question. Does Omega have a dwork account set up for dwork?
Not yet. It's one of the administrative tasks.
Okay.
But today, like we wanted to go through or continue with the working style discovery, and today I think we're exactly at that point, where we see, how Nick has picked up all these communication, content, onboarding tasks. Matt has picked up all these administrative tasks and is also participating in the Steward's session. Right, and basically right now there is an influx of very fluent researchers, I want to say, who want to explore these different working styles, and I'm also drawn to that, for example. So it would be great, if we at least take the next 30 minutes to get to that point where we say, okay, Matt is taking on that administrative tasks. These are the things that need to be done. Who should be, in the know, and how should those tasks be divided and handled?
Like throw my hand in to support any administrative tasks for the conciliary library. So even if it's to help to organize to get like our task list on dwork, or even a quick planning session to touch base and organize and divvy up tasks or whatever, I'm down for that.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Regarding that, I'm also working on consilience. And yeah, just to go back to what to the dwork. Yeah, I can. I can set that up after we finish, delegating the work. I set it up for
So what
yeah,
what I would love to have is actually a process like this group needs a multisig. How do we do that? How do we get that? And then how do we connect those two? Like actually, if one or two people get together and make this administrative how-to for Omega, that will be super helpful. And part of bounties, D work, etc. is in there as well.
Okay.
I could
And
definitely
Mart,
help with that.
yeah. So Mart, I don't know if you're hearing it.
Yeah, I'm listening all the conversation.
So
Yeah, so
it would be great if you can, get the people together, or if you need any help with that, or if you say, hey, I just need a couple of days, and then I'm going to share something, you can add to. But it would be great if we have this process set up.
yeah, so
if you need help, I can
Mhm.
also help. Just have in mind I have limited time, so just send me a message or we find a way. I can always help out.
okay, perfect. So under the administrative work thread, we can discuss those things. Like today, sorry, like
Perfect.
it's kind of like I lacked, but I bought the TC. Like it's kind of a long process. You have to wrap something, and you have to go to honey swap. It's like
Please write that down. These are things that we need because everyone will go through that process, and it's write that once, and then at the very least you
yeah,
should feel the satisfaction that you're helping tens and tens of people, not to feel the same pain. We should have that actually already, but
yeah. So yeah,
as
actually,
tech.
yeah, there's a good document that helps, like that tells what to do, but it's still like kind of at like 30-minute work, not very longest, but for example, compared to buying a token from any other place, it's kind of long, but no worries. So
Mhm.
today I will upload our proposal into Gardens,
Mhm. Mhm.
and about the multisig, maybe we can like Letty was kind of, I think, interested. Maybe we can work with her if she wants,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
like we can work together. Like I can open the
Yeah.
multisig share and add people. Then we can sort out how to manage it, or like
Yeah.
what do you think? Like
Just
it's
also document the process in a sense, like as you said in this channel that we have open, just document the process and then tell people what's next to do, and then if you can give away tasks, if you will, I think a couple of people will be supporting you.
okay.
So we
Yeah,
should
to
get
to make
there,
it
but
simple,
please
it's just
document
only
the
we need.
process.
Sorry, so it's like we need only like having the build up from the Notion and the MVP, because we have the first steps and we were writing the how to contribute to the library. So this would be like the document that is like a 2 short page guide. Like this is what we have. This the MVP. We were adding links from the curators, and we will be having this convenience library in this MVP, which is gonna maybe merge into another thing that Satori is also recommending or saying we can use different digital gardens. But it's like continuing with this first forum post that I wrote. It is in our discourse. And then say, okay, this is a how-to guide. We will invite several people to create across several petals, not only one person, because we decided that one person was not trying to consider a lot in one sector. And then say, okay, we need this multisig for the Omega group. If we want to set up this in Gnosis or in Radical, and this will be like our process to welcome everyone that should come here, and we put the also the boundaries in the general request. So I think that it's a two pages sort, like this is the convenience library, and then we came into the working group with the research topics, because it's gonna be like very related, right?
Yeah, all related. I think we're seeing that as well. can you like we also need a thread on the T Consilience library, and we can put it there. Just seeing it. Okay.
And also one last thing I want to ask. Sorry. So Sebnem, you said we should write a proposal for the research, like the research question that I proposed. So should we write like a funding proposal by itself, or we should write what we will do like with a very little abstract? So we want while we are applying for our working group funding, we can just show like, oh, we will do this as a part of this, but it's not a separate proposal. Right?
Exactly. So that's why I want to go to the working style sessions, because we see there that these research proposals will be feeding, right? These research will be feeding the ethics and ethos discovery will be feeding also library, or that's the focus groups and so on. So I think we have, if you all want to move, the link is in the agenda to the Miro board, right? And basically we have the work areas there, right? You see highlighted in black, we have the library with curations and peer learning. That is going to be something very living, alive, where we actually interact with token engineers and onboard token engineers. So Nick is pushing that, and I think people are gravitating through to that as well. So this whole living library onboarding part. And the other groundwork, if you will, is the focus group and the research topics. Now you started with one. The second one that immediately emerged is this research on our working styles. So what we're now doing and discussing also is going to be an ongoing work, ongoing research, or practitioners research, if you will. So Satori, we will get there. So that would be part of working group Omega proposal update. So in order to get there, that's why it would be great if we can just see that we're all on the same board, if you will. And also just again, I want to collect all your feedback to be able to update that we have funding for research, ongoing research proposals, and we have funding for being here to onboard people, and not just onboard into what, like, number one, the token engineering ethos, culture, the library, learning, peer learning, and so on. So this is also a huge part. Those are this groundwork will be always in this improv, in this flow, in this rather complex and chaotic part. So discovering how we actually manage this with what type of styles and processes or sessions, and how do we, or rituals even, that is something we are starting now. But also I want to be able that we are able to document it, because I think it is interesting for not just us. It's definitely interesting for art, science, anything that is not standard, how you actually create value, right? And I'm not talking even engineering, which you could say, okay, our research method is complicated, but you have a standard procedure, and if you follow it, you know what's the outcome. That doesn't seem to be the point or the option for token engineering as a field ever. And I hope that it remains like that. That remains a very fast-moving, diverse field. Again, you see how important it is then to really figure out how we could find ways to onboard people to token engineering, because people keep drowning. and we don't want anyone to drown in knowledge, but we want them to, play with it and be, feel skilled, feel capable, feel resourceful, don't lose their intrinsic motivation to, push the field forward. So these are the things on my mind, on my heart. And that is going to be the updated proposals for the working group Omega. So that's why we need to get the wallets and how are we going to organize when the funds come in also in place. So that, so a lot of things that just need to be done, tying loose ends. That doesn't mean we don't have any space for this discovery. On the contrary, like if we can manage to fix those low-hanging fruits, let me put it that way, that just need to be done, then we are again open, especially if we document everything such that people who come in and ask, okay, how do I how do I get tech, or how do I get into the work, that we just point them towards these documents. So it's super important that we document those processes as we go through them. Okay.
Yes, just one comment, and maybe for Mertz to help him just come up with the process, we can have like these roles for the working group Omega, like saying stewards, contributors, and curators. So we decide to come up with these roles, which may have different names for this, like more general, or maybe they can stay the same. And then these are the roles for the Omega, which we apply to them or we give to people. And then we have the other initiatives that people can be involved. They can be a facilitator for the working group, and they can be curators in the library, and they can get bounties. So maybe it's like for the working group, we need this proposal, and this gets into the funding for the Consilience Library initiatives as well. But maybe it's like a comprehensive how to contribute in Omega. And then we have both initiatives. And I have already the proposal for the library.
Okay, perfect. Did you say you have it already? Have you started something like that?
Well, we discussed this a month ago. There's one proposal that we, even with the people and the figures, and I was
okay.
trying to put it into the gardens, but then the tech was vested, and I didn't remember that parameter, so I couldn't do it in the garden.
No worries. We get that sorted out, and then that shouldn't be a problem. But I got you. So I take that on immediately. I share a document where I start the update of the working group Omega Omega proposal with our groundwork, and then also will pick up those points of roles that we know that will be needed around those highlighted black areas, like curators, research topic curators, even, right, focus group organizers, and so on. So for that, and now we have a couple of minutes left. For that, I just wanted to say again, like, there is the doing boards underneath. If you have not, especially, I think, Matt, you definitely need one, because you are taking on quite many tasks, or let me put it that way, a cluster. If you can put there the things that need to be done and how you see them, whether simple, complicated, complex, chaotic. Number one, also with this research proposal.
I would like to
even if we don't need it. Yes.
Suggest that I shadow him and make notes, and then
cool.
I think we could come up with a good little guide to how to do certain skill sets to really dance in Omega.
Yeah. So for the research, you mean for coming up with a research proposal like Mark did,
the like how to, the tutorial, I guess it would be.
Okay.
But he's gonna do the certain things that like the okay, so
Yeah.
he's gonna write the proposal or whatever the task that we need, like a how-to guide that I shadow him, or we go one-on-one, and then he tries to explain it to me, and I try to get it to where it makes sense to me, and then I write something about it.
Okay.
I think that would
So
be
I'm just making a
something useful.
I'm just making a copy. I think it will, even if you just ask, but again, like Mark's, I'm just putting it here in the first one. In the first role, like these admin processes, like how do we move from proposals that have been in the admin, in the advice process to conviction voting process. How are we handling our multisigs? How did we set it up? And March, there is a steward budget, and you could basically file for it. Definitely. So if you have any questions with respect to that, please ping me. Which is good, because then you would have the XDI and everything that you also need to actually as you know, get those processes started. Then funding budget and the work bounties, I put it there. And I will do one more thing that it becomes a bit clearer. For example, Nick is doing many things, but she's also taking on, for example, the content and communication, specifically with respect to how can we make it easier for token engineers to find their way here, and then onboard the library, what is their experience, and so on. So you see now in the doing boards grid, you see one with admin. Mart is going to add things there. Again, Satori, as you did, feel free to put a comment in there saying I can help with that. I can do shadowing or note taking here, and Mart, please take up on the offers because that's also helpful. Okay, what else? Okay, and then okay, and basically I will update and share with all of you ASAP, right after this, the working group proposal update. Like, how do we work? How do we fund? What roles we know we need now? And now let's, if you add the remaining or open things into this doing board, that will help me not to forget anything that we do need funding for. Now the other part where I wanted to go to is actually I don't know who did, but someone added the levers to working style discovery.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. And that's I feel that's like the missing piece, like or like the first proposal, if you will, going into the pain points that we identified last time, like skills missing. What do? We need capacity building. We need to establish our practice. So do you want to give some highlights for us to catch up on this compassionate systems leadership and how you thought it relates to our working style?
Sure. I think it was something we were not lacking, but maybe it's a continuation of the working style that we were using with liberating structures. And what I see in this compassionate mandala is that we can just focus onto the 4 sectors that are more related to building capacity, nurturing networks, taking action, and emergent learning. And this this framework normally asks that you have to go through the 4 sectors to really have like an integral view of your working group, of your community, of your company, or anything. So I think it's very nice. Maybe if we can. Yes, as at the same time that we are working with liberating structures and the matrices that we have on the board, maybe we can just create a different one and say, okay, I see that from the group perspective, maybe we are lacking a little bit of building capacity, for example, because we have all these fantastic initiatives and proposals, but we lack a little bit of the practical way to help people to come in and say, okay, I have these skills, but I really need the group to help me to come in and to contribute. So maybe we are like very good at emergent learning because we are very dynamic. We are proposing several things. We are all coming in with our skills and taking action. It would be like the next step if we are able to provide people with these capacities. So I think we only lack this little black sector now. I think it's very good for us to reflect on the past months and say, okay, how we can accomplish what we promised ourselves to do like several months ago. And it's really nice, this integrated framework.
So definitely recommend everyone to read up on that as well. I think it resonates a lot, especially also, as you say, it's exactly where we're at, right? I mean, Satori, for example, the things that you started today saying, emergent, it goes more into the field of emergent learning, and I think we're all game. If you had any pointers to what you proposed, these free flow or play sessions, it is both in nurturing networks and emergent learning, right?
And I just, because it's just how I am, I'm reflecting on myself, right? And when you said more system dancers and system thinkers, I was like, I like that. But then how my own internal infinite game that I play with myself, it's like, hey, I think I could be a systems thinker too. I was like, okay, that's a challenge. I'm gonna do that. And then that's my own game that I do in my head.
Yeah, but the thing is, I believe, and I think always trying to actually get out of your comfort zone. And token engineering is about engineering, right? Token engineering is about getting things to a specification so that it then can be engineered and put into software and run on a world computer, if you will. So that's the technical part, and that requires live information from living networks. So we need to, in order to make that connect between, as we see, like the humanities and the engineering heavy side, we do need people who are comfortable not being comfortable. Like, we love systems dancing. Okay, let's try to move into this more structured way. So if you would add whatever has resonated onto this mandala, like and also others where you think building capacity, coming from yourself, where, and if you have seen, what is all the areas where do we need to go, and what I don't know yet, but I'd be interested in going there. If you could add some notes there, that will be also helpful. I just want to add that Nick isn't here, but you've known her, and definitely she's sending out very strong signals that she really cares for that. the building capacity, in a sense, really getting into what it entails to be a token engineer, what they call it hard skills and soft skills in the olden world. But that type of capacity building, I think also will ease the pain point that we discovered, that there is just, if skills are missing, we have frustration and so on. And the other thing, taking action, right? One person might need a concrete action plan to take action. The other person might just need an impulse, right? And then they flow. So again, very different styles there. And it would be wonderful if we can figure out, how we say, number one, token engineering ethical principle is learn how to host multiple worldviews. I think this is, one instance of it. How do we work together with our very different working styles and these compassionate systems? I think that's exactly what is it that we're talking about. The ones are systems thinkers, the other ones are systems dancers, but drop those labels. We just really want to figure out how to make systems that don't break people and nature, and don't break themselves easily either. So that would bring us to the next experiment. Like, once we define how are we going to research our working styles, different working styles, and get funds for it, which is also energy in coming into the system, not just food for thought, but tokens, if you will, or praise, what have you. So how do we budget that energy? How do we economize that energy? That would be the next session. So I would really love to have one more session on working style with all of you, if that's okay, if that's in it. But I realized already we do need to get jobs to be done of our agenda, definitely as well. So what do you think? When you look at this, does it make sense?
It makes sense to me, I think. But there's a line that I said in my play that I said, is this authentic codex, or is this just poetic fantasy? And I kind of want to go into what I really wanted to share with group. And this kind of goes into, I want to really research and bring out to the table, because as much as anything could be sacred to me, this is something I have found. So to set some kind of context in a meta sense is, I had this dream once where it was like the end of the world, and I had all these books, and people were running around. I was like, why are you saving those books? Like, you're gonna die or whatever. But if we have a chance to live, we need to preserve some books. And he's like, why? It's like, you don't understand. If you really read a book, it changes your mind. And then I remember that getting illustrated in my dream, and I'm kind of like, okay. So it gets to one of these books that has changed my mind a lot, and I want to share it with everybody. And so this comes from it's called Los Aztec Codex. And a little history on me, for lack of a better word, there's a label that I am Mexican American. As I feel and I go through my felt experience, I'm native to the Southwest. And so I've been in a poetic sense, looking for my lineage. I've been feeling like there's been something missing within me. And when I read this, it gives me a kind of an internal North Star. It says, before proceeding with this text, I would like to offer some background on philosophy and metaphysical concepts of the Aztecs. The codex were magnetic devices, memory aids for recording the sciences and wisdom of which the Aztecs had knowledge. The knower of things were wise men. These initialed into the cult knowledge and were responsible for composing, painting books, and knowing and teaching songs and poems in which were preserved to the Aztecs sciences, wisdoms, and mysteries. The Aztecs found in rhythm the poetry as easy and accurate way of remembering the meaning of the hieroglyphs inscribed in their manuscript. It is impossible to overemphasize the importance of poetry in shaping forms and thoughts expressed in high cultures and great civilizations of ancient America. Without knowing what the Aztecs called flower and song, poetry, we can either understand nor appreciate the greatness of their achievements. And for me, they had no, they didn't have any friction with flower and song. Flower, nature, biology. Song, how we create in harmony with it. And that, for me, is my internal North Star. And this is like the ideal for me. And, you know, and so, for some reason, that feels like intrinsically energizing for me. And that's, for lack of a better word, what I hold sacred when I personally are in a crisis. And yeah, I guess I get to the heart of what I want to explore. And I think when we're dealing with, we have real life. I think real life has a bias towards math. We are in hyperspace. It has a bias towards poetry. They're the same thing. They're the same thing, but it's somehow, I think I intuitively, for me, it makes sense that it's kind of inverted. Because this whole thing has been made out of our collective minds. This is a space that we started to form in thoughts in our minds, but then we clashed them together until we started to see this in a more solid state. The birth of it was within our collective minds clashing together.
Yeah, or attracting. So I need to ask you, thanks for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I believe maybe there is one more pattern. You said, I was looking for my lineage. And that was something missing inside you. So would you say that is also something that drove you to Omega?
I said no. Before I even came to Omega, just a little background. My group, we mainly function out of Minds, and Minds is an alternative social media group, but we have a liquidity pool, and so I have some liquidity in there. And really, the rewards only work if you have liquidity. If you try to post, it's like, you know, this is the intrinsic value. This is what my lived experience with token reward system. You know, you spend a week pouring your soul into something, and someone who shit posts like gets extraordinary amount compared to something that I do intrinsically. And to me, my infinite game, when I decided to be different as Satori D, I did a willful change of saying, I'm going to play infinite game and I'm going to do this. Like, it kind of feels me when I feel like, okay, I'm not getting any tokens. I'm going to make my stuff better. I'm going to spend more time on it. I'm gonna build it greater and more to my liking and more to expression of my motivation and doing that. So, you know, I made a willful intent as an artist to forge against these grooves that are happening as a byproduct of token systems. From an artist perspective.
Let's explore. Because
so to
some
round,
things
I'm sorry.
resonate. Yeah.
Sorry, to
Yeah, go
round
ahead.
out that thought, before I came here, I wrote a proposal because Bill, who's the CEO, said he wanted to do a grant system. And that was like a year ago when I talked to him, and he said that on the show. And so, like, I followed up with him and said, "Hey, what's going on with that thing?" And I basically inquired, but I wrote basically a proposal to my best ability, and I told it was to test out how we could maintain community. Like, I was going to use majority of them to have like these games and to see if we could sustain creation and play. And so I have talked to Bill for a long time. So I had a sense that he was lagging it. So me being me, I was like, well, I'm going to learn more about how to write a proposal. Okay, where do I have to go to find that? And then I found myself here. Then I was like, oh no, there's something more important. It's Omega. And then I just like, okay, I'm gonna make space and just dance for a week in Omega. Yeah, I feel at home here. Okay, now I could grow roots. That's how I felt, internally.
Yeah, yeah. But then let's also, let's up your game on writing proposals. Do you wanna?
Yeah.
Please do shadow me on updating the working group Omega proposal. And then also you can also have a pulse on whether all of that does not come too short, because what you say, like poetry, art, again, science, literally research. If we knew what it is that we're doing, we would not call it research, would we? So these things do not actually lend themselves well for asking for little amounts of funds for short terms. You can do that with MVP in 2 weeks and an app, and you test it if it works. So on one hand, that is a critique, but on the other hand, we need more imaginative ways. And Jean is here. I hope she didn't leave. We didn't get to the part, but she also comes from that side, right? Actually,
I'm here.
Every act along the path can have an insight, and that can be shared, and so on. So from our side, also, we need to make a better explanation of why we are so convinced to the point that we might as well just stop writing proposals and fund it completely differently, but actually have that freedom to research, to wonder, to play, to create. And I guess, or not, I guess, that's something also I hear from Motion now, Jean and Steph are from. There is being part of this process. And again, we're getting back to the peer learning area, being part of that process. Like, we are researching token engineering, but at the same time, token engineers, new and onboarding or upskilling ones, are part of our research, right? I think that is a circular economy that might well be funded differently without, demanding from us to come up with proposals every month. What did we do last month? What are we going to do next month? Of course, we're going to share that very lively, in a very participative manner, but not such that we have a written report that can be voted on. That's not alive. So okay, that was my wrapping up of what I or what resonated, what shared. So definitely that working proposal, I'm going to start right away. Thanks for energizing, and I'll definitely share with everyone.
Make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
To Steph. Maybe me and Steph work on this a little bit more, but I'm thinking that we have corresponding art to the article to add extra depth. Like, meaning, it could go either way. Steph could read the article and go blindly and see what comes out, or he could get guidance from who wrote the book, or he could just be sitting there with them. He could. I mean, it's probably up to you, Steph, how you feel. You could do it.
Yeah, I was listening to you and had like a few associations with one of Slavoj Žižek's books called Sex and the Failed Absolute. where he talks about the 3 unorientable surfaces. I'll add it to the map. It's like a theorem about the anion bottle to go from the double cross cap. So I had this kind of thing with when you said something about how to be in it and in it, that I thought about, like, yeah, these kind of spaces which are kind of impossible spaces, but they do exist. So I'll just add it to the board, and it would be nice to read what you're reading. I'll add the link also to the part of the book, and the PDF will be there also.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Super, super cool. And one more comment. This is the only place where it's really about the transdisciplinary art of token engineering, where it's not just about, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but actually we have finally art in it. So thanks so much for, tech making this all possible. Many things happened, so this place could be. Then thanks for, people who started Omega. Thanks for people who came in. And this is really amazing, and it's yeah, I just look forward, and I'll do my best to not suffer any trade-offs, but actually play with that as well. I think we will have some good epiphanies here.
One quick question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I did kind of make an outline of when we're talking about proposals, in terms of complexity, and how we interact. So at the bottom of this, the point of this is to come out with, living wisdom, right? So if you're talking about it from a Batesonian standpoint, then it would be warm data, right? I prefer living wisdom, but I think what I've tried to do here is to try to explain the process of how to arrive at living wisdom, and it might be interesting for people who want to make proposals to try to see in what way something like this could maybe create some clarity about what it is that they're doing in terms of creating proposals.
Where did you share it?
I think it's been in the gravity thing, but I could share it in Omega now.
Yeah, please, if you just share some links, because definitely, like these are also words echoing from you. Actually, one thing that really triggered me at first was every time when Mendogadas was saying, yeah, but what is it that makes you feel alive inside?
Right.
And that was exactly the point where I was missing something inside. That's that's why I'm here, and I think we're exactly getting there. We're transcending these paradigms. This is the way, kind of, this is how it's done, and you have to adhere to rules, because that's what engineers do. We define rules, and then they need to be automated, and we all just becomes cogs in the machine. And that was literally the trajectory that I was on when all of these things unfolded. And definitely, please share.
I did.
I will see.
I'm just trying to say maybe we could use it as a way to ensure that we remain alive. You know what I'm saying? That we actually have budget for, promotion, expectation setting, what is alive, because we're too focused on results,
Yeah. And but also, a general remark, don't expect tech or just the working group Omega to be able to cover any funds and so on. So if always expect that extrinsic reward as an add-on that will be coming in and so on. Yes, but it just puts too much pressure, especially on a working group that that is built to work on token engineering ethics and so on. to have that tension, in my view. But of course, I understand totally, and we will get those funds, but you will see like the budgeting from token engineering commons, especially in the beginning, is not big chunks. So that's just a side note, for people. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. You made me realize that the top portion of my little cellular interaction here was the intrinsic reward part, and the bottom part was actually the extrinsic reward part. So I'm going to modify it to include that. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So we need both. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, I wanted to speak about for a while. I forgot. And then just at the last minute. Okay, so especially about the point of capacity building. I wanted to. I think a good addition would be flow theory in psychology. Csikszentmihalyi's theory of flow. In terms of skill building and motivation regarding skills, I think it would be a really good way to frame things regarding that. And I'll leave it to that. I won't add anything else, any of the details.
But please share links.
I can work on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a comment to that as well. Like in token engineering ethics, ethical principles, number 4 that we uncovered is enable informed participation, and Manu is also working on creating a practice session based on the capabilities approach, right? So that is one approach by a Nobel Prize winning person. However, so what I also like is that we synthesize, right? That we don't just say, hey, this is award winning, and that's why it has credentials, and that's why we're just going to take it and we'll be fine. But actually, really add things that resonate, synthesize, and then, as we have also in our how we I like that we say, okay, we see what is it that we can put on the table, all these maps, right? And we subvert them to see the opposite, and then we really subtract things. We simplify it without truncating. We just don't add model to model to model to model, so it becomes a monster model, but actually to find out what is the essence that we're seeing that is then contextualized in the space in which we are, this token engineering space, and that's basically what we do. And for example, this flow theory, if you exchange, I'm sure Manu will find resonance, or maybe also can link to it and could also make use of it for developing this practice session and so on. So definitely flow, that just one more resonant point there is flow, finding your bliss, runner's high, all those things is exactly where you are in this extremely balanced state. And it does not necessarily have to be movement, but it can. So yeah, definitely in the intrinsic motivation, the biochemistry of action, if you will. So there are many things that we looked into, because also well, when you are designing incentives, incentive mechanisms, you are thinking hard about how to motivate people and whether you're legitimized to do so. Always a side note, but there basically, again, it's a very interesting petal of the cryptoeconomics flower, psychology and decision making. So all these sources that we can put together again can be part of the Consilience library, at the very least our Omega curation, for example. So don't hesitate to change and exchange those links. And Durgadas, sorry, I didn't wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, I was just I was just finishing up about, suggesting a framework for which we could see the evolution of this process, right? And it may be worthwhile to, look at it in layers. Are we doing a complex thing now? Are we doing a systems thinking thing now?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's why I made that, was to kind of try to summarize something of how we interact, including there's sometimes polarities involved, which is why I have that kind of bigger loop in the back now.
Please share and also don't hesitate to put it on the token engineering on the Miro board if you see a suitable place, or just drop the link and yeah.
I think this comes back to what Steph was sharing, like our notes and like process that we kind of like go when we try to flow. It's like those geometric shapes that like support the natural growth of the plant. And so like we have to, that's like we're doing both of those processes, like growing and then like, okay, we kind of need support here. Like, okay, what can we like cobble together to support that? We have this, we have that.
Cool.
And I think it helps me to think about it.
Yeah. Can you put those, like any images or links into the Miro board, and especially into the dynamic energy budget experiment in Omega, just for us to have those, what it is that we're sensing, we're getting towards. Perfect. Again, thanks a lot for participating. Any feedback? How?
Yeah, I have a specific question. Next Wednesday, are we doing another Miro board on the same working style?
So, I think so. What I do right now is just synthesize what we have discussed and so on into our update of our working group proposal. Okay. I believe we will need to do the next session just to have a rough idea what is this dynamic energy budget experiment that we're doing. How do we want to distribute funds, right? Such that we don't feel like we need to list weekly hours, but actually kind of like how does this energy flow, and how does, not just food for thought, but also funds flow through this very interesting network that we have, with very different projects, with very different tasks and skills and working styles.
I think that's our systemology now, and that the North Star was all the work we have been doing, and this is like the road we're traveling, this dynamic energy budget, and that would be like our coming together again.
Okay, why I was asking is like I mentioned on the board that I have this kind of desire to make not the website, but just some kind, like what I'm seeing now, what I made on the Notion, I'm like slightly dissatisfied and I want to improve it somehow. So I was thinking to build some kind of like examplish kind of website-y thing, just to create a bit of an overview, just a very personal interpretation. Like then I started to think maybe I can start to source a bit of material from this mood board and kind of throw it together and see what I come up with, and then kind of post this kind of result as a kind of example, possible visual outlook of something. don't take it as something like it's just kind of like what I do when I'm sketching or DJing, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's
Paper
maybe
task.
that I wait a bit more, that I see when the mood board is ready, that I just start to play with this and kind of post a result about it somewhere. Would that be okay with you guys, or is there like material
I
there that
second
you
it.
can-
I really like this. Will you host it yourself or on a platform?
No, like what I'm
WordPress?
doing is I'm working with StackBit, and then it's hosted on GitHub. And then I was thinking just to make a little, I don't know, like a Proton mail or something just for Omega, and then just run it on that account and then throw it into the group also.
Ah, nice. Very cool.
Regarding the dynamic energy budget, so I would like to to really create things during the next days. So Sebnem, when you and to connect it with what I'm doing at Kernel. So at Kernel, I was telling to Vivek that I was going to focus on the creative part. So basically, I will really for example, I mean, create some concrete experience that are going to be in some kind of, junto, so the meeting, so I can invite you as well to experiment together concretely, physically, some of the ideas. But then you said that we need to work more on the flow. So if I get a little bit, and I will check again in the mirror, but some kind of expectation that you have, so I can focus, be more efficient in what I'm going to do.
I know. So the thing is, I believe that we will need one more session to get there, to say, like, okay, this is how we're interpreting what you have shared, and then basically this is how we might experiment with it, and then that was basically our ball throwing back to you. But in the meantime, if you have anything more concrete or so, please do share. I cannot yet say. I see very, very rough outline. At least it's on the board. And I see like how we relate to each other and so on. We have this tool Praise that we can use to gather some data. And so there are already building blocks there. But I believe we need one more session really. But I'll share with you also this. I share with everyone and ping you also specifically the working style document. The working group Omega proposal update, and will at the very least you will see in there like what is it how does this group work? How would they be funded typically, and what is it that they're now trying to do differently? And why do they think dynamic energy budget might be a fit? And maybe that's already inspirational or direction or impulse enough for you. If not, I would say please one more session, and and I think we will then get some things more concretely on the board, how we could experiment with it and what we want to figure it out.
So if you say one more session, so then I have one more week to be free to share with you more more experience. Okay.
Anything exactly. Okay, perfect.